Another motion text tutorial. We're going to start with the default project settings here. In this project, what we're going to do is create a sphere made of words. So go ahead and Shift Z or choose Fit from this menu here. And let's get started by creating a generator, text generator. By the way, this is in our library, generators, text generator, and file. We'll bring this into our project. We'll go to our inspector, and we'll open that text document that we created in an earlier tutorial called Word Bank. And right off the bat, we're going to go ahead and replicate this Word Bank. We'll scale this up. Now, over in our inspector, we're going to do a few things. We're going to choose 3D. We're going to choose sphere. We're going to choose outline. We'll increase the radius of our sphere. And at this point, we're probably going to need to create a 3D project. So let's go ahead and add object, camera, and choose switch to 3D. We'll go back to our replicator. So, doesn't look like much right now, but we just need to tweak a few settings and you're going to start to see what's going on. So let's select this align angle under cell control. And what that's going to do is align the angle of the text to the shape of the sphere. And right away you start to see the shape. Now we're going to come down here and uncheck play frames and choose random start frame, which will choose different words from that word bank that we uploaded. Now, I'm going to drop the scale way down on this text and come up here to columns and rows. And we want a lot of rows, but we don't need as many columns to pull off this effect. So, right now I have about 10 columns. Maybe we'll go a little bit less. No, 10 looks right. We'll go with 10 columns and 15 rows. Again, you know, depending on the size of the words that you use, you may need to tweak this. One setting may not, work for every word bank, but you want it to generally look like that. Okay, so we're going to choose additive blend on our color mode. This just makes overlapping pixels add together so they get brighter. So that's pretty much a good base start setting. We can choose some random scale size if you want to, but I think uniform scale actually makes the sphere shape really pop. So I'm going to keep it there in my project. Okay, so now let's stylize this. Let's go over to our properties, and we're going to go to rotation, Y rotation, and we'll right click it, and we're going to add a rate. So I'm going to hit play on my project so you can see what's going on here. And I'm going to set this rate to about 10. So now our sphere is rotating at a rate of 10. Now one thing I just want you to note is that there's a lot going on right now, and this is probably going to slow down your computer quite a bit. My computer right now, you can see, is nowhere near playing in real time. That counter right here, this is seconds. And every second is lasting actually about 10 to 15 seconds. So you should just keep that in mind, that when this actually plays out for your final render, this is going to be much faster than it appears right now. If we were to drag this at a rate of about a second, it's going to play more like this speed. Okay. So now we have the basic sphere set up. Now we're just going to do a couple things to make this look cool. So the first one we're going to do, we haven't worked with clone layers yet, but what a clone layer does is it creates a duplicate of a layer, but it pulls all the properties from the original layer. So we're going to go to make clone layer, and just to make sure it has the same properties, we're going to grab from our original replicator, we're going to grab this entire transform section, and we're going to drop it on top of the clone layer. and that should help realign those two layers together. So on the clone layer, what we're going to do is we're going to go up to filters, color correction, and colorize. And from here, I'm going to choose, you can choose whatever color you want. I tend to prefer real gray blues. And on the black, we'll just set that to pure black. Alright, so the next step in this effect is to go up to glow and choose light rays. And then we can fire this amount up quite a bit. Alright, this is one way of doing this effect. This way looks fun, but the light rays don't really purely blend in with our project here. So if I give this a play, it's going to play back very slowly because there is a lot going on here. In fact, it's not going to play at all. But if we were to drag the mouse through the project here, this is what we have. Now our light rays aren't really animating, which I don't like. So here's what we're going to do. This is one way of creating this effect. The other way, instead of creating this clone layer, let's go ahead and delete that. We're going to actually duplicate by right-clicking, duplicate that replicator. And on the bottom replicator, not the top, the bottom replicator, we're going to go ahead and add that. Let's start with the light rays. So go to light rays, set that in the center, crank up our amounts. There we go. Now we'll go back up there to filters and colorize, color correction, colorize. And we'll put in that nice gray blue again. Make sure this is set to all black. Okay. So this time you're going to notice that there's more rotation, I believe, in the light rays, which I like. So, as is, this project could be done. I'm going to add in just a little bit of a counter rotation to this. So I'm going to go to this replicator here, and under properties, rotation, I'm going to add a little bit of an X rotation. So actually, you know what, maybe I'll do this simplified. I'm going to go to my rate tool, properties, transform, rotation, set it to X and Y. Now I need to do this on my other replicator as well. So go up to my behaviors, rate, apply the properties rotation to X and Y. And what this is going to do is this is going to make our globe rotate not just on one axis. It'll rotate on multiple axes like this, which looks fun. Another way to do this would be, I'm going to undo those two rate changes, and I think this way looks slightly better, is we're going to add new rate changes. So I'm going to go ahead on both of these replicators. I'll duplicate my rate. I'll manually set the duplication. So I'll click on my second rate. I'll set its rotation to X. And here's why I'm doing it manually, is that my Y is rotating at a value of 10. I want my X axis to only rotate at a value of 3. So I'll go ahead and go up here and do this on my other replicator. Duplicate. Properties, transform, rotation, X. set that to 3. And somehow I ended up with a third replicator in here. So I'm just going to go ahead and delete that third replicator. So this creates a nice little, just slight off-axis rotation while our globe is spinning. And one last fun step might be actually to duplicate that replicator one more time. So now I have a total of 3 replicators. Should be able to count them 1, 2, 3. This replicator on the radius, I'm going to drop it to about a third of what the others were. So now it's a sphere within a sphere. I'm going to go down here on the randomize seed, on the random seed, and randomize that a little bit. And then I'm going to take those rates and put a negative sign in front of all the numbers. Now what this will do is make the inner sphere turn the opposite direction as the outer sphere. It was going to really give it that three-dimensional look. There you have it. That's a very simple way of creating some dynamic three-dimensional text using a sphere replicator. And the last thing I'll do is just go into my camera. I'm going to add a behavior under camera called zoom in out, and I'll have it zoom in about 50 or 0.5, and that'll just make this layer zoom in as our project rotates and plays. Now just one last note, if this is too glitchy on your computers, there is a way in here to display your replicator as points instead of the image. And let me see if I can find that really quick. If not, you may have to just look in the help menu. Show object as image. If you set this to points on all of your replicators, I'll show you what will happen. You'll want to make sure that you set this back before you go to render out, if you're planning on rendering out. But what it's going to do is, in the place of every piece of text, it's just going to put a dot. And that way you can play it really easily and you can see a simulated version of what your sphere is doing. So once you have it where you like it, you can set all those things back to image. Or even wireframe usually plays a lot quicker than, you know, having the full image up. Wireframe may give you a more realistic presentation of what's happening. We'll see if it can play the wireframe in real time. So it's a little glitchy, but it gives you an idea of what's happening before you set it back to image for your final output. All right, good luck.